Well, folks, here we are again talking about things that are very important to us here at the Busey Home Services. And the item that we're going to discuss today is realtors. Now, realtors are an expected professional in the industry. And with me today, I have one of our members, and he's a professional, believe me. His name is Brian Leong. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, Shell. How are you?
Let's put it right there because we're going to put it right on the mark today.
Okay.
When we're talking about real estate, Brian and I have a lot of items that have got the same justification, let's say it that way, and we want you to get everything you possibly can out of what to do when you're looking at selling and or buying.
Yes.
And when you're buying, it's something today that the realtor has to help. When you're selling, that realtor has to help as well. So let's talk about what the interests are as a realtor if he or she is doing their job. So tell me, Brian, what are some of the items that you consider yourself a little bit different to the average realtor?
Well, the first thing for a realtor, I think, has to have the client's interest at heart. So that's the first thing. Mm-hmm. So you have to establish what is it that the client is trying to accomplish in their real estate journey.
So let's say client selling.
Okay. Client selling, I want to know why. I want to sit down, have a conversation. Why are you selling? Where are you selling to? What is going on in your life? What do you need to get out of this transaction?
Because you're sure that the potential buyer would likely ask you that question. And I'm not so sure if they always divulge that sort of information. But I know anytime I'm out looking at a piece of property, well, why is it on the market?
Yep. Why are they selling? Sometimes they want to know where they're going or things
exactly.
Like that.
And was there any particular reason why? Maybe they want to be close to their friends or family, etc.
Yep.
Well, what about buying? Let's talk about selling. What about selling is one, buying is another? You're selling, we talked about that, but buying, what about the buying aspect of it? If I walked into you and say, hey, what can you do about this particular home that you've got listed door?
Okay.
I'd like you to look into this house.
Yeah. So what I do, again, it's client interest. So I have to get to know who my client is, what is it that they want to accomplish in real estate. Mm-hmm. So are you a first-time buyer, are you a second-time, or do you have something to sell? Whereabouts are you at in your life or financially? What do we need to do where do you want to go? What do we need to do to make it, to get from point A to point B?
Because some of the things today, folks, when you're out there, you may be looking at an area that you're not very familiar with. And that is something that you're striving for, is a footprint that you really know. So tell us about the area and also what you really want to present to that buyer or seller.
My business plan is community. So I live in Cloverdale, I work in Cloverdale, and I'm striving to know Cloverdale inside and out. So if a buyer comes to Cloverdale from out of the area, I ask them, are you from the area? No. Do you know what is in Cloverdale? Do you know what you're moving into? Do you know where you're living, where everything that you need
activities
is
for kids, children, grown-ups, what sort of things there for the help of seniors, for an example? What sort of activities there for children? What activities as far as sports, all that sort of thing?
Yep, shopping, where are you going to buy your groceries? Where do you, what kind of lifestyle do you have? What kind of activities do you like? Where are you going to go within that community?
Now, if you had somebody, for an example, I've got a vast number of the members of my Busey Club, and they're all over North America. And let's just say, for an example, someone from Saskatchewan. We're interested in coming to the Greater Vancouver. Cloverdale, as you've mentioned, that's your footprint. That's where you want to hang your hat and fly your flag and whatever. What sort of thing are they going to expect from you if they were to phone you up and say, hey, I see you've got a membership associated with Busey's referral, and I'm wanting to look into the area of Cloverdale, and I understand Cloverdale is a community within Surrey. What sort of community is it?
Okay, I would ask them, where do you live now? What kind of things do you do? What are you looking for within your community? So some people, parks and recreation, other people shopping, other people, whatever it may be. And then I would relate it to the area as to what that we can provide to them to make them make it a smooth transition, right? Make it
Right,
comfortable,
right.
and maybe some other things that they didn't think of that may be of interest to them.
Schools, for
Schools,
example.
for example. So let's say it's a young family moving from Saskatchewan. How old are your kids? What are their school requirements? Even as far as types of communities. So there's different sort of neighborhoods, right?
Right.
Everybody knows.
Right.
So-
Sporting activities,
Yep.
schools, especially you get into secondary schools, that they have programs that would offer them possibly at the end of their term of grade 12, they may go off into some form of specialty sports activity, maybe even get be a beneficiary of some contributed dollars towards that program.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to be knowledgeable in the community that I can direct them to people in the know. So if they have questions about programs at the community center, I can have a contact at the community center who can better explain to them what it is they're looking for or what else that they have, or
Right.
schools, or let's say for anybody within your referral
Referral.
network, right? So I'm comfortable referring people that I know and that I know do a good job.
So you got schools, you've got hospital services, you've got universities, colleges, sports, as we talked about.
Yep.
There's so many different items that are associated, museums
Yep.
within Cloverdale. And Cloverdale is a very, very fine, incidentally, folks, I live in Cloverdale, and we just think it's an unbelievable source of activity.
Yes,
And
yes.
realistically, what would you give as an answer, Brian, if I was to say, looking at values of real estate, how does it compare with, I hear things are going just out of this world in other areas of greater Metro Vancouver. How is Cloverdale?
Cloverdale, let's start by saying Vancouver's crazy. So I've been in business since 1993, 94, and I started in Vancouver. And I saw the same thing that happened in the mid to late 90s in Vancouver happening out here in the Fraser Valley. So not to that extent. But Cloverdale is still relatively affordable in relative terms.
Right.
So a young family can still come out here and find, these days, probably a larger townhouse to
Right.
start. So, and then work their way to move
And
up to a house.
condominiums and detached homes, new subdivisions.
Yep.
And one of the other items I wanted to bring up, there's a lot of families that are moving closer to their children, like grandchildren.
Yes.
And it comes into play quite often in the conversation of scholarships, because there's a lot of schools today that offer scholarships in different sporting areas, for example, be it hockey, be it soccer, be it even the curling and volleyball, basketball,
Yep,
all
all
these
that kind of
different,
stuff.
and it's all here. It's all
Yep.
here in the Cloverdale area.
Yes. Cloverdale is sort of off the radar right now. And I think Cloverdale is probably one of the fastest growing communities, and it's a great community to raise a family. So I think right now, statistically, I think Cloverdale is actually growing, and it is probably the third largest sub area in Surrey right now as far as house pricing,
Right.
which is growing and growing and growing.
Right. Now, the other nice thing about the activities that are here, like your Cloverdale Rodeo, for example,
Yep.
every year, the Christmas Parade, which is one of the largest in Greater Vancouver.
Yep.
You've got the museums, the train, the club car, there's just so much going on in here. And what about the likes of local interests on behalf of your presentation to the consumer that's interested in a client and an interest in coming and moving into the Cloverdale market? Do you have, let's say, a listing of detached homes, condominiums, townhouses readily available for them to relate to?
Yep. With technology today, we have access to everything that's on MLS. So we sit down and we find out what is it that you're looking for, what kind of parameters are you looking for, type of areas, or from within the home that you're looking for how many bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. but also what kind of community do you want to live in, right?
Well, you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, as I am a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and being involved with the Chamber of Commerce, we like to be straight up with everybody. We want them to understand that when it's come to home improvements, or if it comes to buying a home, the realtors in the area, and certainly Brian being one of the very, very active realtors in the area of Cloverdale, that it's very important, I think, for that client of yours to understand that I used an example before we went on to the video here, and an example, folks, that I think is very important to you, that where you may be interested in a home or a townhouse or a condominium, if there are any downsides to that area, traffic noise, truck routes, all that sort of thing, you bring that to their attention.
My job is to educate my clients, good or bad, right? So I don't sell, I serve, I facilitate.
Good point.
What I like to do is, for my clients, my job is to get as much information about everything for my client to make an educated decision. So
Right.
I would probably put my 2 cents worth in fast, and but they should have all the information in which to make like I said, an educated decision.
Right.
And that's my job.
Right, and that gives the potential client a real opportunity to feel at ease and comfortable with you,
Yep.
to ask any question.
Yes. Yep.
There's no question that shouldn't be asked.
No question is too small.
Because it's something that, folks, when you do ask, for example, if you wanted to build a deck, or if you wanted to build a storage shed in the backyard, or if you wanted to put a suite in the basement, or all of these things are questions that you could be asked by the client.
Yep.
Or you could be presenting a home that already has some of those items associated with it, because you don't want to all of a sudden at the end result come up with, oh my God, we spent our first night in our new home and it's so noisy, we didn't realize that this was there and that was there. But you bring that sort of thing up, and you know the area, because you are becoming very community oriented.
Yep.
And understand the community.
Yep.
And why sell something like good neighbor policy? I believe in 100%.
Yep.
If you're going to put in air conditioning, it's
Yes.
one of those things that you're going to have a condenser outside.
Yep.
That's going to make some noise. So you don't want necessarily that to be a downside on the sale.
Exactly.
So those are all things that you.
So, yeah, those things, I mean, before you even put an offer in, those are things that should be discussed, right?
Right.
Pros and cons of doing that. The effect on your house, how much is it going to be, who's going to do it, the effect on your neighbors, right? So,
Is there permits required?
permits required, what does the city require, and all
Exactly.
those kind of things before you even get into a situation that you know, may or may not be able to get out of.
Exactly, and one of the reasons why, being involved in the home services, being in the renovation and remodeling, and all the services in requirement for those particular, be it electrician, plumber, roofer, windows, whatever.
Yep.
We expect people to know from people like you selling.
Yep.
It may or may not be something that they need, but if you ever do,
Exactly.
this is why I'm a member of the Busey Referral
Yes,
Network.
we should have a working knowledge of these things, but we're not the experts. So that's why you surround yourself with a network of experts, such as your referral network, because everybody, I feel comfortable being part of your network because everybody there is vetted by you.
Becomes
right?
that brand.
So, and anybody that I recommend to any client that I have is an extension of me. So
Right.
if that person does not do a good job, I fall into a bad light as well, and I don't like to do that.
Right on.
So,
Well, you know, folks, in closing, I would just like to ask Brian about his community orientation. And being community oriented, you know, there's young families, there's senior families, retirees, and there's quite a mixture there.
yeah, it's a great mixture in Cloverdale. So I have two little ones at home, and so I'm sort of in the young family community, and I see sort of the requirements there, good schools, rec center type of thing, preschools, daycares, that kind of thing. So I get involved in that.
Right.
So that if there are families out there and say, hey, you know, can I find this for my kids or not? I want to be in the know. I want to be able to
Be able to
direct
pass
them.
that on.
Yep. And then on the other side of it is an older community. Cloverdale established 1870. Not that there's anybody here from there, but
I'm almost there.
but you know, there are retirees here too.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And you know, the idea is for, let's say, their children. They don't, you know, the story is they don't want their parents to all of a sudden meet some realtor and they've sold their house and they don't know what they've gotten into and they're
Right.
undersold or things like that. It's everybody is in a different place on their real estate journey.
Right.
And that's how I want to do my business. I want to find out where you are at, whether you are ready to do something right now or next year or a few years down the line. I want to sort of
So overselling is not your bag.
Yep.
You want to be that service orientated person to help that individual out. Now, you operate as a realtor within a brand.
Yes.
Do you find that brand something that's very important to pass on to the clients as well?
It's everything. It's everything that I do. So for me, it's more of a personal thing. So my business is more face to face.
Right.
So now with technology, we get emails anonymously regarding listings, questions, and things like that.
Right.
And how I want to do my business is all these people that send me inquiries, I want to meet them.
There you
So
go.
let's meet. Let's sit down, and it's very simple for me. Is we meet, we talk, and if we connect and we want to work together, then we work together,
Work
and you
it.
get everything I got.
You feel comfortable and
Yes,
you got it
and
all
it's
together.
a two-way street, right?
Well, folks, there you have it from Brian Leong. And I'll tell you, he is the chap that has his hand on the footprint of Cloverdale.
Yes.
And it's something that I want to say, thanks very much for coming out and
Thanks for having me.
telling the our audience, our membership, our club members, that just what it is that you can see as a better and a more informal function of selling
Yes.
with expertise.
Yep.
The
Serving.
professional service.
Yes. Yes.
It's just that easy.
It is.
You betcha. Thanks very much, folks. Until we have another opportunity to talk to you about one of our members of the Shell Busey Home Services Referral, be with us. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.